Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I've learned a lesson that with YouTube, they tend to cut out the first few seconds of the video. And so that at the beginning of your video, you might be saying something out of context because you missed the start. Like this. We are fourth dimension creatures. I said this in one of my long live streams recently, and I got several private messages going, what do you mean by that? And the purpose of my content is to help the average individual realize that you can reach financial freedom in 10 years or less, make work completely optional, even if you're not starting from the best position. That's the purpose of my videos. Throughout the week, I tend to do 2 short videos, 10 to 15 minutes, 5 to 15 minutes is the goal, for those people who would never click on a 2-hour video. But if you want your questions answered live during a live stream on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is in Futureland right now because we are fourth dimension creatures, I will answer questions. The live streams basically go on as long as the questions do. This is going to be a short video where I cover what I mean by we're fourth dimension creatures. And it really is the simple physics of it. First dimension is a line. So just one dimension. 2 dimensions is, think of, a line is the x-axis. 2 dimensions would be xy axis. So now you have two dimensions, height and width. Third dimension, the one that we perceive everything in, is 3D. Like third dimension, it's literally where 3D comes from, where we have depth, height, and width. Scientists refer to the fourth dimension as time. And whenever we think of time, most of us think of, past, present, future, but there are so many movies that come out. And here's why I talk about us being fourth dimension creatures and why if you have this top of mind awareness of how this concept impacts your life, your present life can be better because you are always going to be in the present life. How many movies, series, or tulpas have been created on the idea of time travel? Right? We perceive time as now in the third dimension, but it's now. You have the Terminator Chronicles, all of the movies, the series where AI takes over, wants to wipe us out, is losing the war, and so their solution was to go back into the past that's already happened and make a small change, right? We're talking about billions of lives being impacted by removing John Connor, by removing John Connor's mom. So John Connor never happens. A small change in the past to drastically affect the lives of billions in the future creates an entire franchise. You have the grandfather paradox, and it was most talked about. This movie is actually banned in China, right? Banned in China because time travel is against whatever happens in China. Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox goes back in time, meets his parents, makes a small change, and his parents don't end up hooking up. So his siblings start to disappear, then he starts to disappear. His entire life, his entire reality altered by a small change in the past. We are programmed by society, and I say society by, theater being the biggest, influence in our lives, right, that we have right now. I would say that there is as much talk to theater as there is in any form of education that we have. These are household terms. People know Back to the Future, almost no matter their age. People know the Terminator Chronicles. People know of all of these concepts of going back in time and making use. How many memes do you see of, if you can go back and tell your 18-year-old self 3 words, what would it be, right? Let me explain how simple this concept is to take it to the step where it actually helps your life and doesn't just frustrate you when you see the responses online and you think, the world is a lot more stupid than I thought, right? We thought it was lack of access that made people unintelligent. No, the internet proves that's wrong. But we can imagine, right? We can imagine, because we have to imagine, going back and making a change. What would you do? Would you eat healthier starting at 18? Would you work out more? Would you be in better shape now? Because we're worried about the now. Would you go back and say, don't marry that person? Don't ever date somebody you work with, right? Give yourself a warning. it's almost like we can perceive that it's always now and that our past could have affected it. But it's really hard to take the logic leap that right now is going to be your past. This is when things are going to change for you. Things that you do right now, very small changes that you do today, are going to make your now, in 5 or 10 years, when it is now, better. This is when you can come back to yourself and say, don't date someone you work with. Don't date that person. Don't waste your money. Maybe come back and say, buy real estate. You won't believe what happens to rents in the next 20 years. Or buy real estate. You have 30-year fixed rate debt. Eventually, it's going to be 30 years from now, and you're going to have a paid off property, as long as you don't touch your equity, which is your ability to add debt to an existing asset. Don't do that. That's not how I did it. What changes can you make in your life today? Right now, you would think, I don't want to have roommates. I've had too many roommates. But how much money did you save when you had roommates? And if you have roommates right now, how much better is your future now going to be because of what you're doing today? Right? I lived in a house on a lake. I moved into an apartment so that I can rent the house out and get rental income on my tax returns for 2 years so that I would be able to get around a bad debt to income ratio so I could buy a duplex and then house hack. Do you think when me and my family moved from our house into the apartment, we thought, well, this is the best now we can have? We were thinking, we're going to make our future now better. Because I started investing at 40. It was pretty late in life. Never really thought about money, right? I got laid off from law enforcement, found out about $89,000 in bad debt in my name I didn't know existed until the divorce. I started teaching at a CDL school, making $17 an hour. My now kind of sucks. And I could have thought, man, this really sucks. To just have a better life, I need to take a vacation. I need to rack up some credit card debt. I need to do all of these things to make now better. Instead, I worked overtime. I worked a side hustle. I played World of Warcraft and sold things online to make money so that in 2 years of saving, of living in an apartment and renting out the house, I could buy a duplex. That now wasn't great. Then I did that for 2 years and bought another one. And then another year and a half and bought another one. Then I house hacked a fourplex. And then I retired after 12 years of investing. 12 years. So starting at 40 in a really bad position, could have done it at 48, but I really liked my job, which is another topic for a video. But at 52 in 2022, I retired and never have to work again in my life. Every current moment from 2022 until the last day I have gets to be the most amazing now that I can imagine. Because I retired. Now, Joe Kuhn, who retired on stocks, right? He retired at 54. He's got a great YouTube channel. You should check it out if you invest in stocks, because real estate's not for everybody. It was just my thing. It was what worked for me. There's no right way. There's a one right way for you. And he talks about retiring to something, not from something. I specifically retired to anything. Every single day I can do anything I feel like. I haven't defined myself, trapped myself in a little box. I don't know which country I'm going to be in. I don't know which hobby I'm going to take up. I don't know. I don't see the possibility. I haven't eliminated it of ever having a job again, but I never have to have a job again because of the things that I did in my past, small little changes that you can be doing today to give you an amazing future where you can do anything. Time freedom in the future comes from the things you do today that suck, especially in those first 5 years. Can you handle 5 years of now not being great to have all your nows forever in the fourth dimension of time being so freaking amazing that what you do is take some of your time, make content to try to drag some people kicking and screaming because they don't think it's possible to the same position you're in, just so you can make the world a better place? Because this is one of the softest things I'll say and what I'll wrap this video up with. Imagine how amazing the world would be if people had jobs they wanted instead of jobs they had to have. Because time freedom lets you chase impact instead of having to chase income.